They mocked the CEO for marrying a poor single dad, until his hidden mafia ties were revealed. The laughter started before the vows were even spoken. It rippled through the glass-walled ballroom like a cruel breeze, whispers sharpened into smirks, phones discreetly lifted, eyes flicking from the bride's diamond-bright smile to the groom's worn shoes. No one bothered to hide it. A billionaire CEO, the face of a global tech empire, was marrying a poor single dad with calloused hands and a thrift store suit. To them, it was a joke begging to be told. And yet, Daniel Cruz stood tall at the altar, shoulders squared, his son's tiny fingers clutching his pant leg, completely unmoved by the room's judgment. He had survived worse than laughter. Because they didn't know who he really was. The bride, Evelyn Hart, had built her empire from nothing. Orphaned at 16, she worked nights, coded days, slept under desks, and rose until her name commanded boardrooms across continents. The world admired her brilliance, envied her power, and dissected her personal life with ruthless curiosity. When news broke that she was engaged, not to a fellow mogul, not to a polished aristocrat, but to a janitor she met volunteering at a community center, social media erupted. She's lost her mind. It's a PR stunt. He's after her money. Evelyn heard it all. She always had. What she never did was explain herself. She had met Daniel on a rainy Tuesday evening when the community center's power went out and chaos followed. Children cried, volunteers panicked, and she froze, and used to darkness she couldn't control. Daniel didn't. He calmly ushered the kids into one room, lit emergency lanterns, and told stories with a gentle voice that made the fear dissolve. Later, as they cleaned up together, she noticed his hands, scarred, steady, careful. "You do this a lot," she said. "Raising kids," he smiled. "Every day." Daniel was a single father to Mateo, 8 years old, curious and kind, with eyes that carried too much loss. Mateo's mother had died years earlier in a hit-and-run no one was ever punished for. Daniel never spoke of that night. He just moved forward, quietly. Their relationship grew slowly, stubbornly ordinary. Coffee dates after volunteer shifts. Homework at the kitchen table. Evelyn learned how to cook eggs without burning them. Daniel learned how to sit through business dinners without shrinking. For the first time, Evelyn felt seen without being evaluated. For the first time, Daniel felt safe loving again. But the world did not approve. At the wedding, executives whispered behind champagne flutes. Evelyn's board members exchanged worried glances. Her mother's old friends, wealthy, sharp-tongued, smiled with practiced cruelty. Does he even know how to hold a fork properly? Poor thing, she must be lonely. Give it a year. Daniel heard it all. He always did. And every word landed heavier because Mateo was there, trying to look brave in a borrowed suit. The challenges didn't end with the vows. Within weeks, tabloids dug into Daniel's past. Or tried to. There were gaps, years unaccounted for, records sealed, addresses that led nowhere. Speculation turned vicious. Private investigators were hired. Board members demanded prenuptial clauses that would strip Daniel of dignity. Evelyn was advised to distance herself. Love doesn't survive scandals, one consultant warned. And this man is a scandal waiting to happen. Evelyn looked at Daniel that night, asleep on the couch with Mateo curled against him, and made her choice. She canceled meetings. She rejected clauses. She stood her ground. That's when the threats began. At first, they were subtle. Anonymous emails. A car following them home. A break-in that left nothing stolen, just a message carved into the doorframe, "You don't belong here." Evelyn's security team panicked. Daniel didn't. He reinforced locks with quiet efficiency. He changed routes. He taught Mateo code words for safety, drills disguised as games. And when Evelyn finally confronted him, voice trembling, eyes searching, he didn't lie. "There are things I never wanted you to carry," he said softly. "But if you're in danger because of me, you deserve the truth." Daniel had grown up in the shadows. Raised by a man the city feared and relied on in equal measure, a mafia boss who enforced a brutal kind of order in a lawless neighborhood. Daniel learned discipline, loyalty, and violence before he learned algebra. By 25, he was a fixer, a negotiator, the man sent when words had to matter. Then Mateo's mother died in a hit-and-run orchestrated by a rival crew. The system failed. Justice never came. Daniel walked away from the life that night, took his son, changed his name, vanished. He worked honest jobs, lived small, kept his head down. But the past had found him. The people threatening Evelyn weren't board members or tabloids. They were men who believed Daniel still owed blood. Evelyn listened in silence, heart pounding, not with fear, but with clarity. "You chose peace," she said. "You chose your son. You chose me." "Yes," Daniel whispered. "And I will choose you again, even if it costs me everything." The turning point came at a shareholder gala, a night meant to reassure investors, restore confidence, and parade Evelyn's composure. The mocking returned in force. Cameras flashed. Jokes were made louder. And then the lights went out. Panic surged. In the darkness, a voice boomed, cold, mocking, threatening. A rival boss announcing his presence, demanding Daniel step forward. Security scrambled. Guests screamed. Daniel kissed Mateo's head, handed him to Evelyn, and walked into the shadows. What followed was not a spectacle of violence, but of control. Daniel spoke with authority that cut through the chaos. Names were spoken. Debts were recalled. Consequences were promised, not shouted, but guaranteed. When the lights returned, the intruders were gone. No blood. No sirens. Only silence. By morning, the truth was everywhere. Headlines exploded. CEO's husband linked to organized crime. Stock prices wobbled. The board convened an emergency meeting. They expected Evelyn to disavow him. She didn't. Instead, she stood before them, calm and unyielding. "This man protected my child," she said. "Protected me. He walked away from power for love. If you think integrity is weakness, then you've misunderstood everything this company stands for." Daniel turned himself in that afternoon, not to confess to crimes, but to testify. He dismantled networks he once served. He gave names, routes, accounts. He accepted responsibility for his past without excuse. The sentence was lighter than anyone expected. When Daniel walked free months later, Mateo ran into his arms. Evelyn was there, eyes wet, smile unbroken. The mocking had stopped long ago. Years later, when the story is told, it isn't about the mafia or the money. It's about a poor single dad who chose goodness over power. A CEO who chose love over image. And a world that learned, too late, that strength doesn't always look rich, and dignity doesn't always wear a suit. Because sometimes, the man everyone laughs at is the one holding the line between chaos and peace. And sometimes, love is the bravest rebellion of all.